All right, we get to sit down today with Annie Arbenz of Andrews Arbenz, located in Old Town in Tacoma. Annie is not only a past client, but an amazing member of the Gig Harbor community. You've been involved in Rotary. You have 2 kiddos. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself for those that aren't lucky enough to know you yet?
Yeah. Aside from having Nicole help me buy and sell my last 2 houses, we've lived in Gig Harbor for almost 12 years, and my husband's a lawyer in Tacoma. I'm a lawyer in Tacoma, and we have 2 little kids who are 4 and 5. I'm in Rotary. I'm on the board of the Downtown Waterfront Alliance as well. My husband was on the city council for 4 years, so we are all in on Gig Harbor. But so we do triathlons and we keep busy. We're really busy folks. But so this pandemic has been very interesting for our family because we're all at home all the time.
Close quarters. It's an adventure. Yes.
Yeah, it has been.
Some
you can
fantastic
see my kids' art. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for carving out some time. I know your schedule has not gotten less busy just because you're working at home. So, Anne, we're working on doing a series with different professionals while people are at home, self-quarantining, and really trying to make the most of their time. And obviously nothing like a worldwide health scare to make people think about wills, right? So
yeah.
You're an attorney. Can you give us a little bit of information about what the scope of your practice is and what services you offer?
Yeah, so I'm really lucky in my mind to be able to focus my practice and completely in trust and estates, which means I draft wills and trusts, and then I help people with probate and trust administrations after someone has died, and we do powers of attorney. So all kinds of, what I say is I help people plan for incapacity and death, and then I help them deal with incapacity and death. So it sounds super morbid, but I love it because we're taking something that can be really complicated, and I'm trying to make it as simple and as efficient as possible for people. So I feel like I'm able to help families a lot and bring peace of mind to people while they're alive. So they know that, this is taken care of. I don't have to worry about it. But yeah, it's all I do, and I love it.
Yeah, our worlds are very similar in that sometimes we're there for people during some of the hardest moments of their life. And also, a will and taking care of estate planning, that's a huge piece of wealth creation and wealth protection, right? So that's another bit. Well, so as you've grown in your practice and so forth, that led you to realize there was kind of a gap in the market for serving folks to get these services taken care of. So,
I do love this stuff. I could be on a soapbox forever talking about why everyone should get a will. Most people hear me and they say, "Oh yeah, I got to get that done." And so, it's always on people's minds. I was sitting down with a young couple like 5 years ago, and they, had a kid, had a mortgage, had a house, had a couple of retirement accounts, and but not a very complicated estate. And it's expensive to go get your estate planning done. It's not like the most exciting money to spend either. So when I was meeting with them, I realized, gosh, this seems like a very excessive amount of money for you to spend. And what I realized is I kind of went through and I ended up giving them a discount because I just was like, this isn't something that I want you to have to pay for because you can't afford it. But then I realized there's this gap where lawyers can get really expensive, and it's not always in the budget to pay $1,000 or more to get an estate plan done. But so what I kind of boiled it down and figured that, okay, it's the lawyer's time that is costing money, and that's fair, right? I'm a lawyer, I get that. I don't want to discount that time spent or the value of it. But sometimes you just don't need a very specific or complicated estate plan. So that's how I identified the need, is actually talking to clients. And so I started Orbit Wills, which is a website to provide very straightforward estate plans, meaning wills, powers of attorney, healthcare directives, and disposition authorizations, which is like whether you want to be cremated or buried. So I started this website to help Washington residents get their estate plans done really quickly for about, I mean, a third of the cost of going to like a traditional lawyer process. And yeah, so it's all online. It's all, there aren't meetings, but it is personalized in the sense that I will call you to talk to you and making sure that you get what you need. And yeah, so it's been awesome because there's clearly a need for it. Even before COVID stuff, it actually gained a lot of popularity, which I didn't know, but I figured I'd test it out and see. So it's been really, I don't know, fortunately, unfortunately, popular during COVID, and I couldn't have expected that. But I think people are kind of looking for things to do, and this is something on their checklist, and it's a way to get it done in 3 days, and so it's kind of attractive to people right now.
Yeah, you leapt to my mind instantly as a guest that I wanted to have on the series because I think that it's so, well, I mean, of course you're awesome. I like spending time with you.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think it's such an essential service.
Yeah.
We do have fun. And, you know, but it is such a critical piece. And I do think, I mean, my encouragement to folks is always and I shouldn't be giving this sort of advice at all. So I'd love your take. You know, as soon as you buy a home, you should be creating a will because now you have a huge asset. So when is it that you suggest someone think about creating a will?
Actually, it is when you own real estate. I think that's kind of a trigger to get it done for sure, because when you own real estate, you trigger probate in Washington state. So, and probate is not the nightmare that it's made out to be all the time, but it's a lot easier if you have a will. So I don't want to freak people out about probate. But with a will, you still go through probate. It's just a lot easier. So you should have a will to navigate that process, to save your family some trouble. I also say minor kids. So if you have a kiddo who's under the age of 18, you should definitely get an estate plan done, a will done, because that's the only place you can appoint a guardian. So a legal guardian, the person who would take care of your kiddo if you died before they turned 18, and how to give that kid money from your estate if they're under a certain age. So kids are a big deal. Real estate, I think those are the two big ones. There's only been one gal in my practice that I said, you don't really need this stuff, but we might as well do it if you want to. She was 18 years old, and I think she wanted to get a power of attorney and a will, and that was the only time I even thought about it. But even then I was like, you know what, if you get it done, it will just make it a lot easier in the future. So but other than that, I think everyone needs it, but definitely real estate and definitely kids.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So another thing, what about when you get married? Would marriage be a trigger at all?
Yeah, actually, that's a good point, Nicole. Marriage is a trigger. There are a lot of laws in place that say what happens when you get married, and it does make things easier. But then if you're single and don't have like a natural progression of where your assets go when you die. So there's kind of some steps already set up for married people, but marriage is a big one because while community property laws in Washington state do say that the property goes to your spouse, a lot of times it doesn't happen like that when someone dies. So we want to make it so it does happen like that if possible. And that is best done through wills and other documents that support that kind of transition after someone's died. Yeah. So marriage is or divorce for that matter. Those two things.
Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking of like when this comes up, you know, kind of in our real estate practice, right? I guess, you know, we're contract law in a very, very limited way. And the questions that we get. So I guess that also leads to my next, which is, what exactly is a living trust? A lot of the times people ask about, should I put my property in a trust?
Right.
And does that avoid probate? And, you know, there's a lot of questions around that. So what do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a lawyer, so I tend to make answers a little bit more complicated than they maybe need to be. But generally speaking, if I'm just going to like cut through it, is a living trust is really a fantastic tool when you have real estate outside of Washington. So if you do have out of state real property, it means that you have to go through probate in that state and also in Washington state. So when you get a living trust, you're avoiding the multiple probates and you're doing it all in one state. And so a living trust does avoid probates wherever you have real estate, and that is a huge benefit. Now, everyone thinks they need a living trust. They think they're fancy and they absolutely need it for whatever reason. I proceed with a lot of caution when advising my clients to have living trust, because in my mind, the only reason you have it is to avoid probate. That's it. And so I think you have to have a really good reason to need to avoid probate. One of the main reason in my mind is because you have property in a different state, but every other reason, I want to talk to you about it. I want to understand why and make sure that it's the right tool for you. So there's no asset protection in a living trust. There can be, but it's generally speaking, there isn't. And there's no creditor protection. There's no tax benefits. So it's really just to avoid probate, and really good to have if you have property in more than one state.
Okay. And just a disclaimer, as you're giving all this wonderful information, of course, this is all just general information. Everyone needs to seek individual counsel.
It's not legal advice. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah. You're basically a lawyer. Yeah. All your contract work makes you that way. That's awesome. Thank you.
We will put the disclaimer at the bottom when we get there. Just make sure we're all good. Okay, so if someone is sitting at home right now and they're just, they've reorganized the pantry twice, everything's sparkling,
Stock drawer clean. Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay, so they can go to, it's just orbitwills.com, right?
Yeah, orbitwills.com. There's no Z. It's just orbitwills.com. Kind of like, not like the travel site, but you'll know it because it'll come up. And if you Google Orbit Wills, it'll come up too. So that's the easy way to get it done online. If you go through a questionnaire on Orbit Wills and it says, is this the right site for you, right? Can I do my estate plan this way? So there's like 4 or 5 questions that basically they're like qualification questions to make sure that yours is, a straightforward estate that can be done this way. And if that's not the case, you'll get a little zip, like a little phone number to contact my office. And then I'm still doing Zoom appointments. So, I'm just sitting right here with my preschool artwork, and I have a lot, there are a lot of people doing this right now. So it's, you got a couple options, but Orbit Wills is really quick and fast and cheaper. So.
Perfect. And if someone knows already, just listening to his chat, that they have a more complicated situation, obviously they'd want to seek legal counsel. So basically it's going through that questionnaire, because my question was going to be, when do you recommend someone seek legal counsel beyond Orbit? And it's go through that questionnaire and see what.
Yeah, I think that's the most succinct answer. But generally it's, I find it doesn't work great if you have, if you have an estate tax issue, which is your estate's valued at over $2 million, which includes everything. So if you're in that world, if you have a blended family, it probably wouldn't work very well. If you don't want to give everything to your spouse when you die, then that's usually the blended family thing. That it wouldn't work very well. But our tagline on Orbit Wills is simple wills for smart people, because it's not that they're just, it doesn't mean that you're simple or that what you have going is simple. It means that you don't need a complicated estate plan. And everyone comes in and they're like, I think this is going to be really simple. Like when people say that to me, I know it's not going to be simple. So yeah, go through those questions, and then that tells you whether it will work for you or not. And then otherwise you can call a lawyer, and I'm one of them, but there are a lot of lawyers in town, in Gig Harbor and in Tacoma, who do this stuff.
Fantastic. But I wouldn't say all are as fun as you. That's a certainty.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Thank you.
Fantastic. Well, that said, I do know how incredibly busy you are right now. So thank you again for your time. Of course, we're going to drop your contact information below if folks do have questions and they want to reach out. And we just appreciate you so much. So stay happy and healthy.
I appreciate you. Yes, you too.
All right.
And to everyone, stay happy and healthy and at home, all that.
Yes, we will see you on the other side of this.
Yes, indeed. Thank you.
Thank you.